Today we are talking about HiFi Rush, the latest first-party Microsoft/Bethesda game for the Xbox. It's also on PC, day one Game Pass, all of that jazz. Because, guys, this game is absolutely blowing my socks off. This game came out of nowhere, they announced it in that showcase, and that's where I want to start. I want to talk about the circumstances of its announcement, because I gotta be honest, Microsoft is kind of annoying me at this point. So, if you don't know, this is a Nintendo channel. Microsoft, they don't seem to know how to release video games. They announce games 7 years before they come out, and that's really frustrating. And then they don't give any updates that entire time, kind of like the Metroid Prime 4 situation we're feeling right now. A great example of this is Forza Motorsport, the 8th mainline Forza Motorsport, the reboot of sorts, the first one on Series X. This was announced in 2020. It was shown, and it still doesn't have a date in this developer direct they did yesterday. I don't understand how a game like that, no offense, is taking so long. But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have a game that I feel like Microsoft just didn't know what they had. I think they saw this game. Obviously, it was in development before they acquired Bethesda. They saw it and were like, this game's probably not going to do that well. This is the best game Microsoft has released in a long time. At the very least, in a very long time. I can safely say that. So it's really frustrating for me to see the way they treat a smaller game like this. To shadow drop a game from Tango Gameworks, the creators of Evil Within and Ghostwire Tokyo like this, it kind of just feels a little disrespectful. Of all the games, they're announcing Fable and Hellblade all these years in advance. But then this awesome, super stylized rhythm action game from one of Japan's most talented teams, and they just don't even announce it or market it. And now I'm really worried that it's not going to find its audience because there was no marketing. So hopefully the word of mouth helps this game find an audience. I'm doing my part here making this video because HiFi Rush is my favorite game of the year so far. Better than Fire Emblem Engage, better than Forspoken, obviously. And I liked Forspoken. I played a little bit of Dead Space. I liked it more than that. This game is freaking awesome. So if you grew up in the PS2 Dreamcast era and you played, Jet Set Radio or even like Guitar Man, you are going to feel right at home with HiFi Rush. This is, at its core, a rhythm-based DMC game, a rhythm-based action game. You're scored on each of your encounters, and that's the best way to describe it. Now, I have to say, though, when we saw the trailer for this during the developer direct yesterday, my first mind-blown moment was the art style. I don't know if there's a better-looking video game, at least to suit my taste. I think this game is freaking gorgeous. It has this comic book cel-shaded art style. It has, like, the main character, Chai, he's, like, snapping his fingers during the game. It has, like, the comic sound of a snap written out. It's oozing with style, it's oozing with personality, and I just really like, that was my first takeaway. The freaking art style is gorgeous, and it's really jarring to see that from Tango Gameworks, the creators of The Evil Within, a very dark horror game. But it's a really refreshing thing to see, especially coming from Microsoft, a company that seemingly doesn't release video games anymore. Though I'm sure I'll get comments saying, oh, it's Bethesda, and I get that, but whatever. They're basically the same thing at this point, right? So yeah, HiFi Rush is about a boy named Chai who gets his iPod put into his chest, and then he starts moving with the beat, and he has to fight and go against this evil corporation that's planning to take over the world or whatever. One of those kind of plots, pretty cheesy plot, but it's really endearing, and the characters especially, I think, are actually a pretty big highlight. I think the writing in here is really good. When I saw the trailer, there's a couple of cheesy lines, and there's definitely a lot of puns. It is pretty childish humor, I want to say, but it usually lands. It honestly really does. I think this game's really funny. I think the characters are great. The voice acting is great. The villains especially are awesome. It's almost like a Mega Man game in the way it's structured. You have 12 stages. I haven't beaten it quite yet. I think I'm on stage 8, so I'm getting close. And I believe there's 6 bosses, so not quite a boss for every stage, but they all have these very, wacky, zany personalities, and they're all very varied. The boss fights are super unique. I just got done one where the entire point is just to dodge. You're not supposed to attack, but you're dodging to the beat. There's other bosses where, there's one at the beginning of the game that's very formulaic. You're just smacking someone's giant robot arm, then they, it hits them again or whatever, that kind of thing. Almost like a Splatoon boss in a little bit of a way. So the boss fights are awesome. I will say, first and only negative so far, I think, for me, really, is sometimes the levels feel a little long. It's level-based, of course. Like I said, 12 levels. They can be like an hour long. I think I have 7 hours played right now, and sometimes I'm just like, man, this is going on for a while, It really does kind of stay long in the tooth sometimes, whereas other times there was one mission that was like 20 minutes, and that was great. Not to say that that's necessarily a bad thing, and I probably shouldn't be playing 7 hours of this game in one day, which certainly is the only reason I'm even bringing it up. But, you know, sometimes, you know, you gotta go do something, you gotta go take care of a chore or whatever, and an hour-long mission's kind of a lot to swallow. There's checkpoints, obviously, so you could stop and save and come back, but for me, I don't like having something left unfinished, if that makes sense. So that's my really only main negative, but let's just dive right into the core of the gameplay here. Like I said, rhythm DMC, rhythm Bayonetta, rhythm action game. That is the best way to paint the picture of what HiFi Rush is. You play as Shy, you attack with your weird robot arm guitar thing. Looks sick. I love his character design, by the way, not to talk about the characters again, though the characters in general have awesome designs. And you have a light attack, you have a heavy attack, and you just go to the rhythm of the song that's playing in every level. Each level will have a unique song composed by either Bethesda and Tango Gameworks, or they actually have some licensed songs. There's a 9 Inch Nails song in there, there's Free Radicals in there, which is really cool during the boss fights, and those are definitely the highlight. When Free Radicals hit during that boss fight, I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. So those highs are just insanely high. But yeah, you're just hitting to the beat. They introduce a ton of mechanics. You have 2 assist characters, essentially. One who can break shields, one who can break other shields. Then they can have their own upgrades. You have a magnet kind of grapple hook thing that lets you draw yourself into the enemy. There's a parry attack. And there's really a lot going on. And I will say, I don't know if I've quite found that perfect rhythm yet. Rhythm games like this, I'm typically not good at. I tried playing Metal Hellsinger last year, and it wasn't, I don't know, I wasn't really gelling with it, if that makes sense. But something like Rhythm Heaven or even just Rock Band, I love games like that. But when you mix rhythm with action, it's normally a little bit harder for me to get into. But HiFi Rush, it doesn't really matter if you do good. So it's really satisfying regardless. I'm playing on medium. I'm sure if you play on harder difficulties, that will be an issue. You know, if you're missing the beat every once in a while, you're not going to be punished too much. At least playing on medium, when you get low on health, if you keep hitting an enemy and you break their stance, it usually will pop out a bunch of health for you. So it's pretty forgiving in that regard. I think I've had to hit continue, and like redo an encounter once, so not too bad. But yeah, like I said, if you don't like rhythm games, I would still recommend giving this a shot because it's really not that intrinsic to the experience that you're good at it. You know, obviously, if you don't like feeling hyped up over music, then you're probably not gonna like this game, right? But if you like want to try this, but you think you're bad at rhythm games or whatever, give it a shot. There's a lot of accessibility options too. I saw something that looks like you can just make everything press. It's just one button press. So basically, you can make the game play itself for you if you just want to see the pretty art and the story, which is cool, I guess. I will say, for me, as someone who's not super great at these kinds of games, I haven't quite found that groove at certain points. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. There are certain enemy types that really give me trouble. Specifically like the samurai. He's like a couple missions into the game, and then you'll be encountering these enemies over and over. He has 2 swords. I have trouble with him. And doing specifically the parry. The parry has been my issue so far. I haven't quite found that right moment with the parry normally, except for when it does like the specific event for parrying where they like pop up on screen and it's like, okay, we're gonna do this rhythm, and then you have to throw it back at him. That stuff is awesome. That's very rhythm heaven, right? There's a ton of upgrades. There's a ton of moves you can buy. There's a currency, these gears you pick up, so you can unlock new combos. There's a ton of combos in this game. Once again, that's not really, I'm not gonna lie, that's not really my thing. I'm bad at remembering combos, so that's certainly been something I've been trying to improve on and learn all these combos, because there's a ton of them. I like the shop system too, because if you buy something, you can sell it back, not for quite the full value, but if you get a combo and you decide you don't like it, you can just sell it. And then they have other stuff like health upgrades or your special upgrades. You have a special attack, of course, different special attacks. There's a ton of those. And I think my biggest takeaway with HiFi Rush is just how quality this game is. And it goes back to what I started out by saying. Shadow dropping this, I think, does it a disservice, and it feels a little disrespectful. Obviously, it's hype. I'm so happy this game came out, and I got to play it for free on Game Pass, whatever my subscription is, the day it was announced. That's awesome. But in a world where Microsoft is announcing games like Perfect Dark several years before they even get shown again, it just, I don't know. I don't like it. It feels like they didn't know what they had. and that really frustrates me. So if you have Game Pass, if you have an Xbox, if you have a PC, if you have Game Pass PC, I highly recommend you try this game out. It's really something special. Like I said, I'm not done it yet. I'm going to finish it up later today because I am really enjoying it. The plot is really fun and endearing. The characters are awesome. The art style is gorgeous. The cutscenes, everything about this game is just really good. My only real criticism is the length of the levels at times, but even that's not really an issue. And I guess side issue, I'm not that great at it, but I'm still having a ton of fun with it. So if you're really great at action games like this, oh yeah, you are going to like HiFi Rush. So I think that's going to do it for this video. Not Nintendo, but I wanted to talk about this game because A, word of mouth, I need to get people to know about this game, and B, it's just something I'm playing, and it's freaking awesome. And it is a serious GOTY contender. It's probably my favorite game of the year so far. Obviously, we're only in January. Hopefully, you know, I don't think when we get to December, when the Game Awards happen, I don't think we're going to be talking about this game that much, or I don't think most people will be, because recency bias tends to be a thing. But as a start to 2023, man, this past week has been awesome. I have to say, between this Forspoken and Fire Emblem, and then you have Dead Space next week. I think what's Hogwarts Legacy and all these other things. So 2023 for gaming, starting off with an absolute bang. Let me know if you are playing or checking out HiFi Rush, or if you're planning on checking it out. And if you are playing it, let me know what you think of it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing here for more gaming coverage. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at BoTalksMedia. And until next time, folks, bye-bye.